I've got this real problem, as you know, with how to do this, because the temptation to do smug I told you so is tiny, because the point about Brexit, those of us that warned how silly it was to do it, we're not just warning out of an altruistic sense of social responsibility. We're warning because it was going to hurt us as well. So, how much celebration can you do about the fact that the chief executive of Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs told MPs last week that British businesses are going to spend £7.5 billion a year handling customs declarations that they didn't have to do when we were in the European Union. £7.5 billion a year. This is the head of the tax office essentially confirming that it's as damaging as a no-deal situation. It's not materially different from a no-deal situation. It's hard to pick a highlight, isn't it, or a winner of all the witless contributions to public discourse from the last few years. But Let's Go WTO was probably the most boneheaded of all the boneheaded slogans. If you might as well have had "I understand nothing" tattooed across your forehead, if you were subscribing to that ludicrous slogan. But that hurts every business. That hurts businesses that were desperate, businesses run by or staffed by people that were desperate not to leave the European Union. It hurts ambivalent business people. It hurts people who thought that Brexit was going to be a good idea. Everyone gets hurt. So this notion of there being some sort of smug celebration or schadenfreude, it's just another lie in the lengthy litany of lies told by people that have turned us into the first country in the history of humanity to impose economic sanctions on ourselves. £7.5 billion a year. That's more money than Johnson is freeing up this year for the NHS as a stopgap before they come up with a way of funding social care. That's £5.5 billion. That gets all the headlines. This, it was in the Times on Friday, but I don't think it necessarily resonated with you. They don't get shouted from the rooftops because so much of the media encouraged you to vote for this madness. So that's just one little story for you. £7.5 billion a year of unnecessary costs, customs declarations. I suppose if you work in the sector, if you make red tape, then business is booming. It's a bit like being an undertaker during a plague. You sort of get, there are always some sectors of an economy that benefit from things that are terrible for the whole of society. But there it is. That's not me or Anna Soubry. That's Jim Harrow, the Chief Executive of HM Revenues and Customs, telling MPs that the number of customs forms now needed to trade with the European Union under the deal as negotiated, you remember that, is not, and I quote, materially different from a no-deal situation. So Lord Frost got a peerage. Well, what for? You tell me.